Hi, Sandi Maki here with a little bit of heavy breathing just before midnight. I've been doing a lot of pondering today, and the pondering takes the framework of what is it that I should be doing or should be working on to be the most productive, moving forward me that I can be. And this is a really hard question to answer. I think that we often get caught up in what we're supposed to be doing or what we think we're supposed to be doing to manufacture something into the future. When I know that just the opposite is true, when we set an intention and we have an idea and then we allow the details to take care of themselves because we have a final outcome in mind, I know that is when we're actually the most productive, when we're not actually trying to do or manufacture anything. But then that concept is at odds with the planning and the strategizing and having a to-do list and checking things off. And I think on any given day I can fall somewhere in between these two things. I really know and understand the power of the universe at work. When I'm setting an intention and I want something to happen, I can have that final outcome in mind and things will line themselves up. But I also know when I have an outcome in mind and I take strategic action and I take steps towards it, that things also happen. So which is the right thing? Because part of the thought would be, well, just let it take care of itself. And then the other thought is, no, there has to be work and action going toward it. So I've been pondering that off and on a whole lot of different things. Basically anything that you look at either requires some action on your part or it just requires intention. And so I've been trying to figure out where to put some of my energy. I know that I've said a lot in the past, if it was supposed to be done, it would be done already, because I tend to, you could use the word procrastinate on some things if you must, I suppose. I tend to allow things to happen, though, rather than procrastinate. So some things, as soon as I have an idea, it's done and taken care of and checked off the list, and then I don't have to think about it again. And other things that are on the list, maybe they sit there for a while, or maybe it just doesn't feel right to take action on them or figure something out. And again, I'm a huge believer, and I guess as I'm saying that, I'm trying to convince myself that I'm a huge believer in allowing things to work themselves out, because we have so many of the answers for what we need to know already. You know it by the way that you feel when you're approaching something. You know how taking an action or picking up the phone to call someone, you know how that feels. And you know sometimes you do it without thinking, and sometimes all you do is think about it. And when all we do is think about it, I think we owe it to ourselves to allow ourselves to take it off the list. If it was important enough, it'll happen. I know that I do this too. I think that in my day I have to accomplish so much and make so many phone calls and, take so many appointments or whatever the case may be. And then something throws itself in front of you that you have no control over, and all of a sudden that thing that you were supposed to do or is on your list every day, it's really not that important. What if we could treat every day like those days when something just kind of pops up unexpectedly? I think that's really the best way for us to live and move forward, but that's definitely not the way that we're trained and programmed. We're trained and programmed probably a lot from the way that we were raised in the educational system into having guidelines and deadlines and doing things whether you like them or not because you're supposed to. And it takes a lot to get over that box, that schematic that we have in our heads that we have to move forward and we have to do things in this certain way. It takes a whole lot to get over that. And I know every single time I approach something and I do it in the way that flows instead of the way that it's supposed to, I know that every time I can look back with absolute clarity and certainty and say, I get it, I know exactly how that works. And then the next time I'm standing in front of something, there's that box again with that checklist that tells me that I'm supposed to do it this way or that way. So let's kind of bring this around to why I'm even thinking about this today. I talked yesterday about getting out of my own way, because I've been getting in it quite a bit lately. and I have determined the switch has flipped, the light switch has gone off or on, or whichever way you want to call it, I have determined that I'm not going to get in my own way. All right, so what comes naturally after stopping getting in my own way? Well, planning for the future, of course, planning, right? Or maybe having an end game in mind and allowing that future to unfold. So here's the dilemma. Do I strategize and take action? Or do I flow and allow? And how do I know if I'm flowing and allowing enough, or when I should be planning and taking action? Maybe you can sense my dilemma. So, of course, I thought the perfect answer would be, let's talk about it. Because if I can talk through it, then maybe I'll come to some type of an idea about what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Yep, still waiting for the answer to hit me. I think that probably just answered itself, didn't it? I think that the best thing that I can do, and the best thing you can do, if you find yourself in your own way, and in the dilemma of allowing or strategizing, is picture the end outcome. And then imagine a few of the steps that it would take to get there. And then start moving in that direction, not necessarily breaking out the entire to-do checklist and trying to orchestrate everything from beginning to middle to end. But if that's where I'm headed, how can I point my compass in that direction? How can I point myself in that direction? And what's the next most important thing that I could do to get me to that place? In my case today, it was talking about it. Because when we allow ourselves to ask the questions, we also allow ourselves to answer those questions. And then I think things become even more clear. So as soon as I stop recording this episode of Heavy Breathing just before midnight, you can bet that I will be doing the next most important thing toward my flowing with the universe intention of what's going to happen next. And you probably want to stay tuned because it's going to be big. Until next time.